for some reason, out of the blue, Sailor Moon goes, "That's a good look for you, Ray. It covers up your enormous mouth."
Burn.
Like, just no build up for why she's being mean. It was just obviously. And then Ray responds also with a burn, which actually is my favorite name calling for the whole episode, because Ray goes, "At least I'm not a desperate hunk hog." And desperate hunk hog is probably the best thing I've ever heard anyone say. It sounds
That's the name of my band, actually. What a small world. Welcome to Sailor Moon Therapy Hour. We are your hosts. I'm Audrey.
And I'm Allison. And we are not therapists. We just watch anime.
Yes, so do not think of this as therapy. This is not a replacement.
Definitely do not follow any of the advice from within this episode, because many bad decisions were made in this episode.
So the episode that we watched, and as a reminder, during Sailor Moon Therapy Hour, one of us watches the original 90s Deke dub
of Sailor Moon.
Hard to get. To clarify.
It is hard to
Sailor
find.
Moon. Yeah. And the other one watches the sub. And this week I watched the sub, so the original Japanese, and it is called Usagi's Joy, a love letter from Tuxedo Mask.
And my version was the dub, and it was called Who Is That Masked Man? I was like, okay. And
I'm
to
so
start,
curious.
I loved this episode. It was fucking weird, pardon my language, but I enjoyed it. And it was fun. I really liked that my episode started with Sailor Moon, like they do like a little intro blurb on the English version, and Sailor Moon just shows up and says, "Today on Sailor Moon, a fake Tuxedo Mask appears, and I found out too late that it's really Nephrite setting up a trap to capture me." And I was like, cool, got it, I'm done.
That's the episode.
Right? And I mean, I guess to be fair, we also do pretty quickly, like, Nephrite establishes this is his plan, so it's not a secret, but it was pretty funny to me. I was just like, okay, everything is known.
But it was a secret to Sailor Moon for most of the episode, so that kind of ruins the tension.
It was great. I love it. So yeah, we start with Nephrite talking to the stars like he does, and again, I forget that he has an amazing voice in the English version, where in the Japanese version, he has kind of like a cool voice because he's a seducer or whatever. And in the English version, he just growls like this all the time. In fact, I realized at some point, I was like, oh, I know who he sounds like. It's Strong Bad. He talks like Strong Bad the whole time.
Oh my god, so, I would kill for that fandom.
But yeah, he's like, "Stars, show me Sailor Moon's greatest weakness." And the stars show a little clip of her. I guess they do like a recap. They show a clip of her being like, "Oh my gosh, Tuxedo Mask is so dreamy." And he's like, "Aha." And then
I have something to say about the stars real quick. Snitches get stitches. Okay.
I mean, the stars can do just absolutely anything. It's great. I'm really impressed with the stars, and I think he may have the best powers of anyone on the show.
No, I did note that. I was like, okay, these powers are dope. But the other thing is, I was like, wait, so this whole time he could have just asked the stars who Sailor Moon is?
That's a good point. He didn't ask them who she was. He asked them like her weakness, but it does feel like he could just ask who she was. So so then Zoisite's like, "Beryl wants to talk to you," and it's girl Zoisite because it's the dub. And Beryl's like, "I'm disappointed that you haven't been bringing me energy." And he's like, "It was the sailor people." And she's like, "Well, then what's your plan to catch them?" And he's like, "I'm gonna pretend to be Tuxedo Mask." And Beryl's like, he's like, "That's her weakness." And Beryl's like, "He is very handsome. This is a good plan." And I was like, what the heck? I don't think she's ever met him.
No, this is the first time that anybody has even noticed Tuxedo Mask. Like, literally
Did
nobody has
she
cared up until this point.
did she look like kind of like, ooh, he's handsome? Did she do that on the dub?
No, they
Sub?
didn't talk about him at all. And my
Because
only
I was
note,
like, she
my
gets all blushy. It's really weird.
oh, they added that then. That's so
Yeah,
weird. Oh my god, I'm gonna have to go back and
very
rewatch.
weird.
The only thing I wrote, because that was just like I just wrote that like Beryl's a shitty boss. She keeps moving goalposts because typical Beryl. So it was just like a very typical Beryl scene. And the only other thing I wrote was eggs on his shoulders because of his costume. Did you notice that?
He's got a
He looked
great
like eggs.
costume. Okay, I love that.
All right.
So this is the plan. We're gonna seduce Sailor Moon by pretending to be Tuxedo Mask, which should be easy to do because
No red
he's just a
flags.
dude in a costume. No red flags. And we cut to Serena has just received a love note from Tuxedo Mask, and he's like, "Meet me in the shopping center at 9." I wrote 9 a.m., but I feel like it was nighttime. But anyways, at 9 p.m., 9 a.m. Tuxedo Mask, and Luna's like, "Oh, he must have figured out your Sailor Moon, but why would he be sending you a love note? That doesn't make sense." And Sailor Moon's just like, "Because he loves me, everything's great, we're gonna get married, Ray is gonna be so jealous." And that was the vibe.
I actually wrote down this exchange because I thought it was really cute. Can I read it to you?
Yes.
So Luna's like, something's not right. How does he know you're Sailor Moon? And she just goes,
That's
because
what I
love
thought.
conquers all. Yeah. And she goes, because
He
love
did say
conquers
something like
all.
that.
The power of love can solve any mystery.
That's really cute.
So cute. And I was confused too. I was like, how did he know where her house was until the next moment?
Yeah. Yeah. And then in the next scene, because I was sitting there like, how does he know who she is? And then we literally cut to the next scene. Serena's sitting in class looking really angry because everybody in class has gotten the same letter, which is frankly a power move, Nephrite. That's amazing. Yeah. He invited every girl in this school to a date at 9 a.m/p.m. at the mall.
Definitely PM.
And literally, they're all like, "Wow, who do you think Tuxedo Mask is?" And it's very weird. And then the teacher comes in. I love her, Miss H, and she's like, "Oh, how many of you guys got the Tuxedo Mask letter?" And she's like, "Well, I've been invited as a chaperone, so I expect you all to be on your best behavior." And I was like, "What? Did that happen?"
They changed that.
Yeah, and then they just cut to her looking angry, and she's like, "Just what I want to do with my Saturday, babysitting." And I was like, I don't feel like this is how this went.
No, it was so much better. Like, I was frantically writing notes because the scene was great because she walks in, slams the book on the table, and she's like, just so you know, don't be swayed by this love letter prank. You don't know if there's a bad man at the other end of it, and blah, blah, blah. And I was writing notes about like, oh my God, she's finally learned from all of the shit that she's been through these several episodes. And like, she gets growth, and then it cuts to like that her angry face, and she's like, why didn't I get one?
See, I knew that was my guess when she came in. I was like, did she get a letter? She's excited. And then I was like, oh, or maybe she's mad she didn't get a letter. But no, she's like invited to chaperone a group date that the school is aware of, which is a crazy thing to say. Like, who's letting their children go to this? I mean, they really should have a chaperone.
Yeah.
I mean, a bunch of junior high girls go to a date with a stranger. It's very weird.
I know. And it's like, I mean, she doesn't actually go, so they don't explain that.
Yeah. And yeah, so then, yeah, good point. Well, it's because we don't see, they all arrive early, so we only see the couple people show up. Everyone else, I guess, shows up an hour later and after everything's over, which would have been really funny. I would have loved to cut to the people who arrived on time, like just this horde of girls, like just hanging around in a mall, an empty mall. That's great. I love it.
For some reason in the sub, like only, and I know that we'll get to this, but only like one person shows up. I don't want to reveal who yet. But yeah. I was like, where is everybody? Like, and I think it's because nobody fucking knows who Tuxedo Mask is.
Yeah, no. In the dub, they explained it as everyone else. The two people who showed up just arrived really early.
Oh,
So they were the only two
all
people
right.
who decided to come early. But yeah, it does. I was like, no one else decided to come early. I don't know. Again,
Yeah.
like I think you're right. They don't know who the fuck Tuxedo Mask is. They don't care. They're just going talk. I mean, honestly, if a stranger invited everyone in my school on a group date, I would definitely go just because that's amazing. But I would
Yeah.
not be interested in dating him. I would
No, I
just
just
go
want to
because
see.
at that point, it's
I
like,
want to see it all
do you
burn
remember?
down.
Do you remember how people would like just have these like Facebook events that were like unlocked and everyone would just crash them because it'd be like Craig's pizza party and like somehow become like a viral thing and everyone would just go. I feel like it would be like that. Tuxedo Mask's date, like everyone would just go to it and it wouldn't
Yeah.
be about him anymore. It would just be a hangout, like a rave.
That's why I was. That's why I was confused that like there wasn't a massive horde. You know.
Yeah, it would have been fun, but they didn't do it.
Yeah.
So Mercury and Luna are talking and they're like, maybe we should ask Ray if she had any visions. And then we cut to Andrew and Darian in the video game store, and Darian's playing this little claw game and trying to catch a Tuxedo Mask figure. And Andrew's like, why do you, and he can't get it. And
Yeah.
Andrew's like, why do you always go for that one? And he's like, I don't know. I guess I just like his cape. And I was like, oh, this is very cute. Because he
That's so
doesn't know
cute.
he's
Okay.
Tuxedo Mask.
Question.
Mhm.
Who is making Sailor Moon merch and who is profiting
I
off
did
of
wonder
this?
that.
I thought that.
Like who's doing this? But it's like he doesn't know he's Tuxedo Mask, so I guess he can't defend his own merchandising. Um,
Well, and then I thought I'm a little bit confused because like I didn't think that people really knew they existed.
well, I mean that's such a good point because I don't think literally anyone except for the Sailor people have ever seen Tuxedo Mask. So,
That
like you
and
said, like,
like
and
so there
remember,
was
it was like a big deal that her little brother had met Sailor Moon, and so they were fans. But most people haven't even met Sailor Moon, much less Tuxedo Mask, who
exactly.
doesn't do anything except for occasionally show up to help Sailor Moon when no one's there. So yeah, no one should know
And
he
yet there's a
exists.
whole suite. There's a whole suite of Sailor Moon merch in Andrew's store, and I'm just wondering, do you think that this is what Zoisite has been doing with his time?
Oh, that's a good guess. I was just about to say it was Artemis. I don't know why. I think because he was running that one, like he had control of the video game console, and I'm like, maybe
Oh
Artemis is.
yeah,
I mean, he's probably also. I mean, Artemis is clearly also already merchandising Sailor V, so it feels like he could
right.
jump on that like real fast.
Why do you think it's
Artemis being,
Artemis
by
and
the way,
not
the
Sailor
cat.
V? Oh yeah.
I just feel like he's in charge. I don't know. Artemis is Sailor Venus's cat. So. He's like her manager, sort of like Luna is the momager. Like I feel like if Luna wasn't so stressed about Sailor Moon all the time, she would also be selling merch. Maybe she is.
Yeah. I mean, maybe this is what she and Artemis talk about it like late at night on the
Yeah,
Sailor
when
V
they
game.
meet. I think that's a good plan.
I think it's all part of their PR branding strategy. Like nobody's seen Sailor Moon, but at least there's merch already.
And Serena shows up to the video game store and they're like, wow, she's really sad. And she's like, I thought a guy liked me, but he invited the whole school. And I was like, you know what? That is a mood. Or not like a relatable mood, but like definitely something to cry about because that is quite a thing to happen. And then she starts bawling and they cut to like Tuxedo Mask and Andrew just about falling over. And they're like, what a terrible sound. Please stop, Serena. And I love that she has crying powers. Like, that's canonical.
And in the sub they kind of just it feels more normal. Like, oh no, she's crying. Like it's not like the powers thing again.
Yeah.
So, once again, the dub is a little bit funnier,
a little meaner, but I decided this one didn't count as mean because she canonically can bring people to their knees with her tears, like monsters. So works for me. So Mercury and Luna discover that Ray is sick in bed with the flu, so she hasn't any visions and she can't go on the date, even though she also got a letter, which I think is weird because she doesn't go to their high school, so I guess he sent it to like lots of schools. But
I think he sent it to every single girl of age in the district, like in town.
Well, in the dub, he says, and I wrote it down because I thought it was funny. He goes, I've invited every girl from Crossroads Junior High School. And I was like, sir, that is a crime. You are an adult man. Oh no. Don't die of the plague.
I have raised
Oh
flu.
dear. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think in a sub he just said like the school like the Juban district.
Yeah. I was just like, this is not good. It really like
This
when you're
is a
seeing this
crime.
like very much adult man and he's talking about junior high, you're like, buddy.
Oh, and it gets so much
And in
worse.
fact, right? And he's doing it in a strong bad voice, which does make it very funny. Um but then right after that, Molly shows up and I love her Brooklyn accent. Her voice is forever the best voice. But she's like, "Oh, Mr. Such and Such, like, do you remember me? We met at the tennis tournament." And he's like, "Yeah, you were the ball girl, right?" And he said it in this way that I was like, "Sir, correct your tone." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, you remembered me." And because he was, I remember, involved in the tennis at some point, and it's fascinating to imply that he's still doing that. Like he just has that as a hobby.
I don't think he is. I think because the way I interpreted it was that like Molly actually has really good observational skills and like recognized him because she had such a
Well, they
crush
said,
on him.
okay, well, maybe it was the dub because they said you were at the tennis thing last week, and I was like, well, that was a while ago, so
Oh,
he must still be doing the tennis thing. But I
well,
do like
that's
the idea that
sweet.
she just remembers him. I like
Yeah.
it better that she remembers him from that episode. But I actually know I also really like the idea that he's just still running a tennis team somewhere
Yeah.
or something.
You know, I think that what else would he be doing with his time? Like it's not like he's consulting
Right?
the stars 24/7.
Yeah, I
How
mean
else is he going to be up on the gossip around town?
he's got strong startup hustle energy. Like I feel like that's what he would
Yeah.
really prefer to be doing with his time if he didn't also have to collect energy for Queen Beryl.
Oh, you know that man doesn't sleep.
And so Molly's like, I was just wondering, did you sign and send a bunch of letters as Tuxedo Mask? And he's like, what? How did you know? Or he doesn't say that, but Molly's just like, well, I just had a feeling. And he's like, oh my God. And then he thinks, he's like, I feel a very strong presence in her. She possesses a great strength. And it was like, woo, does Molly have powers? I was really excited. But that wasn't what was going on. So he's just
No.
like, he goes into a sexy voice and he's like, ooh, she's like, sorry, that was weird of me to ask. And he's like, no, a mystery meeting sounds rather romantic. And she's like, wow, it must be him. And it was really creepy because, again, you're really reminded that he's an adult and she is in junior high. And you're like, ah.
Somehow that dub made it even creepier. Like
Oh
to
my
him
gosh.
talking about how it was romantic because the like yes the whole setup is creepy. I literally wrote you old man.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that he's like leaning on the wall against like while he's talking to her is like clearly hitting on her physicality or whatever. But the other thing was like, so what he says is like, it's actually something really innocuous. It's something like, you are the sweetest girl in the Juban district or something like that. Like it's just like, yeah, kid, you're sweet. Like, but meet me later tonight.
Right? I was just thinking just now because Jedi also used to do a little bit of stuff like this, and he had that scene on the boat. But like somehow Nephrite just has much sleazier energy than Jedi. I think because Nephrite seems always very personal and like weirdly like taking advantage of. He's like got pickup artist energy, and Nephrite just seemed like
Yes.
he was just like trying to run a business. Like,
I think Jedi might
he
be
was just much less
asexual.
creepy.
Yeah.
Yeah. He was just like, why are these like remember on the boat episode where he was just like, what's happening? Why is this person flirting with me? Why is this evil monster flirting with me? I don't understand any of this. So yeah.
That's why I'm getting strong asexual energy out of Jedi because he's just like, wait,
Yes.
what? What are you all doing?
He's just bewildered by all of this. Whereas like Nephrite
Yeah.
is like definitely being a weird, creepy, manipulative dude.
Yeah. And like I also wrote the
Zebra.
question of like, what if I don't know what I was trying to say, and maybe I'll cut this, but like I wrote, okay, what if this was legit though? Like What if this wasn't an evil plan, but like Molly has a crush on an older man and he's like actually I don't want, you know what? I don't want to go down that.
Yeah, but I literally kept expecting this episode to actually like unpack the crazy stranger danger vibes that were happening, and it, at least in the dub, it never did. And it was like, maybe somewhere address some of this. You are talking like, I'm usually like, you don't need to like, do a moral for children, but I was like, maybe
Right.
maybe do a moral for children.
Yeah. This
Somewhere.
like also, well, I guess maybe in the 90s there wasn't enough stranger danger cuz like once we sort of had
Mhm.
the internet and it's like, hey, don't just trust random like emails or whatever that like you get from people or letter. Like that would definitely be a moral today, I think, is like, hey, you don't know who's on the other end.
Yeah,
But
that's
yeah,
really
there was
true.
something. Also, side note, is there anything more 90s than having a date at the mall?
I mean, the weird thing was it appeared to be a completely empty mall. So it was like after hours or something, which is
Yeah.
definitely not very 90s. Having a date at
Yeah.
an empty mall is something that a serial killer would do, which I guess is appropriate.
Yeah, poor Molly.
But yeah, I was like, oh, malls. Um, yeah, so then we cut to Sailor Moon, who's like, I'm gonna arrive early and like figure out what's going on with this weirdo that's inviting everyone. And then she's like doing all like, she's making a list of all the things you do for a date, and it's like, I really like, she starts with like, step one is get your best outfit and coolest socks. And the socks were
It
very
said
cute.
socks.
Yeah.
She
And they showed them on screen. It was really cute.
That was underwear.
Was it
She
underwear?
says wear Yeah, she says wear clean underwear.
Oh, I was like, oh, it's kind of cute and unusual that she was like, look at your cool socks.
Yeah.
Oh my God, they just showed a
Yeah.
okay. They just showed a drawer full of like cutesy underwear with animal print. That's upsetting
Yeah.
to me.
But it is funny that
That's
like when I think of how they
upsetting.
designed it, it could have been socks. So I feel like
Yeah,
that's a
they looked,
decent
because they were
change.
like rolled up, at least on my
Yeah.
screen, where I thought that, I just assumed it was a drawer full of socks, like cute socks, not
Yeah.
cute children's underwear.
Yeah.
Wow, I have very complicated feelings about that. And then she did various other things, that like put on some makeup and brush her hair. I can't remember what else, but it was cute.
I thought that
It's
was
suddenly
so
become
cute.
way less cute.
Yeah.
It became way less
But the
cute
whole
just now, so
dang. But the rest of it was I
it
wrote
was.
down like Usagi's rules of dating, and I was like, but what do you think Ami's rules of dating are, or like Ray's rules of
Ooh,
dating?
or Ray's rules. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that.
Maybe we'll save
Um,
that for the activity.
yeah, maybe. Well, that was something to ponder. Let's see. And then so Sailor Moon has planned to arrive early, but then we cut to the mall and Molly is there, so she got there even earlier. Um and she's all alone at the mall, because I was like, why is she alone? But I eventually they say something about she came early. And oh yeah, Tuxedo Mask, Nephrite as Tuxedo Mask, who's very obviously Nephrite because he's got the long curly brown hair, is like, you came early, is anybody with you? And they have like the creepiest conversation that was very much like, I'm getting ready to murder you. And Molly's just like, no, I'm totally alone and vulnerable. And she goes, I don't need anybody with me to say what I have to say. And I was just like, Molly, I didn't bring anyone. I'm just like, Molly, you're gonna
Oh
die.
my god.
And then he's like, good. And then he's like, I can't remember what he says, but she's like, come a little closer. It's not like I'm gonna bite you or anything. And then he goes, Rah! I know who you are, admit it. And he like pokes her he like jumps down the escalator and pokes her in the chest, which I was like, sir, remove your finger from this girl's
Yes.
chest.
That
But it
was
was
so
very weird.
creepy.
The whole vibes were weird.
Yeah.
And Molly's just kind of like, what's happening? So yeah, Serena, meanwhile, is she's like, oh, I should call Amy, but then Amy calls her, and she's like, I'm at the mall, I'm going early, and like Amy, who's with sick Ray. Ray jumps out of the sick bed and is like, "What? She can't get there and steal Tuxedo Mask. We gotta get there." And then they go running off. So
classic Ray.
And then we cut back to the dude who's still poking Molly in the chest because, you know, whatever. We're just gonna go with it. And he's like, and then he like touches her forehead and he's like, "I feel a strange force directed at me." And she's like, "That's my love." And like then electricity is like coming out of her forehead towards his finger. And he goes, "Ugh." And he goes, "Oh, but this energy is very powerful stuff, whatever it is." And I was just like, what is happening? So
the sound effects of
yeah, it was a noise that was like, are you being like, it was a bad noise.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Dying of the COVIDs.
Oh yeah. Oh, I probably should have explained that up front, but well, I'm gonna try to cut all the coughs anyway.
Yeah. So if it comes through, poor Audrey is sick, and we feel very bad for her.
Yes, feel bad for me.
But
send me your powerful love.
Yeah, that was a vibe, and
yep.
I realized at this point that the strong presence and great strength inside Molly was her love for Nephrite, which was kind of disappointing because I thought it was like maybe that she had some sort of like sailor power, but it was like the power of love for a douchebag that you've met like once, and I was like, oh, okay. And yeah, and then Molly's like, "Oh, I'm gonna keel over," and she faints in his arms, which was really good.
I'm hearing it in Molly's voice.
Yeah, it was really good. And this is when Sailor Moon arrives to see clearly fake Tuxedo Mask with his flowing brown hair, with Molly collapsed in his arms and an arc of energy coming out of her into his hand. And in what she like ducks back behind a wall, and in like what was definitely way too mild of a voice, goes like, "Oh no, Molly, what a total slime. Wait, that can't be the real Tuxedo Mask," and then transforms.
Oh no, my best friend.
What a slime.
I thought when you were saying slime, I really thought you were gonna say what a slut. Like I thought the dub was gonna turn into like Molly, that slut.
Oh no. That's very good though.
In the sub, it's more what you would expect, like, "Oh my god, Molly!" And then in like she's so shocked at seeing her best friend like being hurt, it takes her a second then to be like, "Wait a second, like that's not Tuxedo Matt." Like so she like sees Molly and then ducks behind a wall because she's like, "Why would Tuxedo Mask do that?" And then she like looks again and realizes it's not him, and then she transforms.
Yeah, it's clearly not him, and yeah, it was great. The voice acting delivery was just amazing though. And I also, since we mentioned the word slime, I'm gonna see if I can call out some of the other, but this episode had some of the best, like, what do you call it, epithets, like name calling, like sailor trash and stuff like that. It was really good. So I'll see if I can spot some of the other good ones for you because it was good. Oh yeah, so Sailor Moon transforms, and which we've seen once before, we cut to Darian on a sidewalk collapsing and transforming as well. So we've definitely confirmed that he just transforms when Sailor Moon transforms. He doesn't have control over it. And that's really cool. I don't know why it's cool, but
I literally wrote, "Oh my god, his transformation is connected."
Yeah, I wrote neat.
Did he say anything or did it just happen? Because in the sub he goes, "Oh my god, it's happening again."
I think, you know what, I didn't write it down, but he might have said something like that. He definitely seemed like he was like, "Oh, why, this again," or something like that, so it definitely I can't remember what he said, but I feel like he did say something like
So
that because it was part of how I realized it was what was going on.
yeah, so like I don't think that he, as Darian, consciously knows about any of this.
Well, he, at least in the dub, he's going to spell that out in a minute. So he does not know
Oh,
because they
okay.
had a conversation about it. It sounds like he didn't have this conversation in the sub,
No.
but they straight up have a conversation about it, which I was kind of impressed with. I was like, oh, neat. They're actually like talking to each other and stuff. That's a real game changer.
Yeah.
But it's interesting if that's not in the sub, and so we'll have to
No.
get to that because I was like,
And
oh, okay. Yeah, so then we cut back to Sailor Moon, who's going after fake Tuxedo Mask, and she's like, let her go this instant, crud ball. There's one of our names. And he's like, no way, Sailor Trash. And he like they start fighting, and he like throws Molly at her, and then she makes the weird noises. This time it's her turn to go which was like just a weird way to make noises when you catch your friend. Like,
yeah, why make that noise?
I was like, is she very heavy? What happened here? I don't know. And then, okay, I loved the way this played out because Nephrite dramatically like rips, I guess it was like a stripper costume. He rips off the Tuxedo Mask costume to reveal, his usual Negaverse costume underneath. And he, so I'm like, oh, at this point we know it's
With
Nephrite.
the eggs.
But he still has the little tuxedo mask on. So Sailor Moon goes, even though he's like, it's clear who he is now, but Sailor Moon goes, take off that mask and show me who you really are. And so then he takes the mask off, and then he says, once I show you, I have to get rid of you. And I'm like, the timing of when everyone delivered their lines is very funny.
I don't understand how they made those cuts. Like, they must have added stuff in because it all just happens at once in the sub where he like rips all of it off and then is like, I'm actually Nephrite. And it's like, she doesn't know who that fucking is.
Which makes much more sense. Also, the threat, like, once I show you, I'll have to get rid of you, is stupid because she's seen him without his like, in just Nephrite get up, like, 7 times. Like,
yeah,
she knows who you are, dude. Like, that's not a secret. So it was really weird.
And isn't the whole point of why we're even here him trying to get rid of her? So, like,
yeah,
I thought that was a foregone conclusion.
Also, a good point is, like, why did he not try a little harder to pretend to be Tuxedo Mask? I guess she said she figured out who he was at this point, but it was like he never really did anything with that.
No, it was just a trap.
So then he's like, well, as a sailor, since or I don't know, that's not what he says because that's Japanese, but he's like, as a sailor, probably also know the power of the stars. And then he's like, so he calls upon the power of the stars and like makes a bunch of clones of himself, but I don't think they were real clones. But he's like, multiply my power and unleash Leo the lion. And then like he forms like a Jedi constellation that turns into like a star lion monster, which was kind of cool, but also raised a lot of questions because he's never been able to do anything like this before. And all the monsters he's made has come from like the energy of other people, or maybe they were powered up by the energy of other people. It just raised a lot of questions to me.
Yeah, I thought the lion was cute though.
It was, and Jedi or Nephrite is very OP, and I appreciate that.
Yeah, I do have some issues with the animation where, so he like raises his arm in what looks to me like a Hitler salute, and then multiplies. More of them, so it's like an army of Nephrite's Hitler saluting.
Yeah, awkward. I could see that.
Yeah.
Awkward. Yeah, and I was like, thought he was gonna just fight her with a bunch of clones, which would have been kind of cool. But I did like the idea of like a constellation monster. That was kind of neat. So the lion starts chasing Sailor Moon. It's like a green lion, in case you're picturing like a normal lion. It's a monster lion.
Yeah.
It starts chasing, but it's like normal lion sized. So it starts chasing her. She immediately turns away and runs and is screaming. And then she dramatically trips and falls down like you do. And then the Clutch Rose comes in and saves her. So the Tuxedo Mask Rose shows up.
Yeah.
And I think this is my first time with the new Tuxedo Mask voice actor who you commented on last time. But I was like, wow, he's a choice.
I don't remember. It's been so long.
Well, it's not even his voice, but his like intonation, I think maybe he's trying to hit the lip flaps or something,
Oh.
but his intonation is really weird. And if you find it, like, if you want to pull a quote, it would be this one right here, like his first line when he shows up. And so I can't imitate it because I don't really remember it, but it was just like, Sailor Moon, I hope you realize that this sleazoid is the one who wrote those phony letters, not me, nega scum.
Phew, Tuxedo Mask!
Oh!
Sailor Moon, I hope you realize this sleazoid's the one who wrote those phony letters and not me, nega scum.
Oh, Tuxedo Mask, I'd never doubt you.
You haven't got a chance.
Yoy! Mind if I test that theory, Sailor Moon?
Oh no, you go right ahead. Be my guest.
You can run.
And you're like, I don't know what just happened. It was just really weird. It was very strange delivery. And also just I liked Sleazoid. I liked Nega Scum, so those were some more good ones.
Sleazoid is pretty dope.
I'm really glad he like felt the need to explain what was going on because like, yeah, she knows. She got it, dude.
Yeah,
also, how do you know
it.
what's going on? He didn't see the letters. How does he know what's going on?
Right. I don't remember even what he said in the sub because it like wasn't super exciting, I guess.
It just, like, it wasn't just really badly delivered.
I do remember his pose when he shows up. He's at the doors of this elevator and he's got one leg up across it and leaning against the other side while he delivers this.
I forgot that. That was good.
It was so good.
There were some really good Tuxedo Mask moments in this episode, and I really enjoyed them. Yeah, so then he's like, Tuxedo Mask is like, Sailor Moon, mind if I take this one or something like that? And she's like, sure. And so he starts running towards the bad guy and she starts running away. And I was like, that's kind of a weird vibe. They don't normally do this. But then she does like almost immediately stop and turn around and go, wait, I need to help him. And I'm like, yeah. And so she comes back and she throws, and he doesn't even do anything. So we didn't even get to see him do any fighting. But she throws her tiara attack, which usually is what she uses to defeat the monster. But for some reason, the lion like doesn't get defeated, and I don't think they ever explain that.
They actually don't, and that's the first time it hasn't dusted anybody,
right? And like again, are we discovering in this episode that Nephrite has just been super powerful all along? He just doesn't like apply himself. He's too busy running tennis matches. He's like, no, I'm busy with my tennis games.
Yeah, he has too many startups going. The one change that they made, it sounds like in the dub, which I actually kind of like what they did in the dub because it sounds like they kind of come to an agreement where he's like, here, I would like to take this one, you go, blah, blah, blah. Because in the sub, it's just like, Sailor Moon, run! And then he just takes it on. And I'm like, this has never been the vibe, you know? Like, it's always been you helping her. And she just runs. She's like, all right.
Yeah. Although I do kind of like, because it was confusing to me that he was like, can I do this? And she's like, sure. And then she changes her mind. Like, in some ways, I kind of like that he says run and she just like autopilots. And then she's like, wait a second. He didn't get to tell me to run.
Yeah, because she goes, she says in the sub, he tells her to run and she goes, okay, real Tuxedo Mask, I'll do anything. Like, if the real Tuxedo Mask tells me to do something, I'll do it. And then she runs and then she goes, wait a second.
Yeah. So yeah, it was a little weirdly portrayed, but I didn't hate it. It was interesting. It sounds like both versions were kind of interesting.
Yeah.
Again, I was like actually pleased because I was sitting there going, oh, it's frustrating that they're gonna have him do the fighting because like it's her show. But then it was like, no, she was like, no, actually I'm gonna handle this. But yeah, so when the lion's not defeated, they both start running for it and they run and get trapped in an elevator.
Yeah, and I this part.
It was really good. It really became a different genre of movie for a moment.
Yeah,
it's very soft.
Yeah, go on and explain because I have so many questions about the elevator plan.
Yeah, so they go into the elevator. It closes. The lion vanishes, and I was like, was the lion just like an illusion all along, and that's why she couldn't tiara dust it?
Maybe that's why it didn't work. Yeah.
Like, I thought that, I was like, that would be kind of cool, but they don't ever, like, expand on that. And then, like, I did love, they're immediately in the elevator, and Tuxedo Mask is, like, trying to get the elevator open, and he's like, I don't know how to beat him. And I was just like, Tuxedo Mask is foiled by elevator. And then they look up, there's, like, a voice from above. This is where it becomes very, like, Saw movie, because Nephrite's like, I can't remember exactly what he says, but he's basically like, because Sailor Moon's like, at least we're safe, and Nephrite's like, only until you get to the top floor, and then he's like, and then gravity is going to take its course, and you're going to become a sailor pancake, which was another good name. And she's like, no, I don't want to be a pancake. It was like, wow, we're in a whole different genre of movie.
Right where I want them.
I don't know how to beat him.
At least we're safe.
Yes, Sailor Moon, but only until you get to the top floor.
What are you talking about?
According to the laws of gravity, what goes up must come down. And when that happens, you're gonna be a sailor pancake at the bottom of the elevator
I
shaft.
don't want to be a pancake.
I claim Sailor Pancake as my new AIM screen name.
That is a good screen name, actually. It's better than Sailor Trash.
Yeah, or Sleazoid.
Sailor Sleazoid?
Yeah. Okay, so question. So this was Nephrite's plan all along, right? Was to trap them in an elevator, bring it all the way up to the top, and then drop it so that they get crushed at the bottom. And I'm like, but they're magic. How was elevator the plan?
I mean, it's sort of like the one episode where they like used planes to attack people. It's just like suddenly we're really mixing our machinery. Like you said, he's got like a lion that they literally can't beat, but he doesn't kill them with the lion. He's like, no, I'm going to kill him with this elevator. Which, to be fair, it does appear to be one of the most effective attacks anyone's ever used on them. Like, it comes very close to killing them. So it was very dramatic.
That's very true.
So maybe people should be using elevators more often. Like, stop using monsters. They know how to fight monsters. Use airplanes and elevators.
Yeah, that really stymies them.
They're like, no, what do I do? I can take down a lion, but I can't open this elevator door. I don't know what to do.
Also, that's never been how you open. Like, he's there trying to like shove his fingers into the cracks of the elevator door, and I'm like, in no universe is that how you ever open an elevator door. Press the button. Like, not once do they press a button.
Also, he does that before he knows the elevator's going to drop. So literally they just go into an elevator and he just immediately starts being like, let me back out of this elevator. Like, he doesn't know what elevators are. Maybe Tuxedo Mask doesn't know what elevators are. Like, he doesn't have his memories. Maybe he doesn't know what an elevator is.
He's like leaning with his leg up against. He just thinks it's proposing.
Yeah.
Like, wait, it closes?
Oh my gosh.
Well, in the sub, I think it's because they watch as it's closing, they watch the line disappear. And so the vibe feels more like he's quite calm actually in the elevator, like trying to think like
he's not going, I don't know how to beat him. Oh no.
No, he's very, very calm. Because he's like, wait a second, like something, like the vibe is very much that he gets that something is off, and then he's like trying to get out. And he's like, oh, this is the trap. Like, we've now been trapped. We fell into his trap.
Yeah.
And then meanwhile, Sailor Moon is like, do they have this in the dub where she's in her own little world?
Well, first there's a really cute moment where he's talking or thinking or something, and she's in the background behind him, like debating, confessing, and it's really cute. And she's like, no, I can't. She like starts to say something, have you? And then she's like, no, I can't. And then, then she goes into her whole, hang on, I've lost track of where my notes go. But she goes into like a imagination of like how this is going to play, and in her own little world. And like she's like, call me crazy, but I kind of think being trapped like this is romantic. And so she's imagining like that he's going to kiss her, and it cuts back to like her like leaning into the air like it's going to kiss her, and he's like, are you listening to me? And she is not.
No,
it's very cute.
The answer, she is not. You know, I am wondering at this point, I think Sailor Moon has ADHD. I think all the signs are there.
Yeah, actually. Speaking as someone with ADHD, I can.
She's always late. She can't study. She would much rather read manga than study because of the dopamine. She has a very rich, what do you call it? Like daydream, very rich imagination and daydream life.
Goes off on tangents, hyperfixates.
Yeah.
It's good. I like
Neurodivergent Sailor Moon.
Yes. Yeah, so
Armchair therapy.
He's like, I found a way out. And of course, it's like the climb out the top of the elevator, which is like what every movie ever does. Are there actually doors on the top of elevators? I don't know, but that's how everyone always gets out of an elevator. So they're like climbing at the top, and he's like, as soon as it stops, we've got to jump, which was confusing way to say like they need to like get off the elevator and like grab onto the wall, like jump for the wall. But I love this. He goes, as soon as it stops, we got to jump. And like she says in like the least enthusiastic voice ever, like, we do. Because she does not want to. I really liked that delivery. That one was good. She was not excited about this plan. No. But yeah, so they jump and they wind up with like Tuxedo Mask is hanging on to the wall, and then with his other hand he's caught her hand, and so they're like doing the classic like hanging from a cliff edge. Oh no, it's very dramatic. And then the elevator crashes down, and we see Nephrite at the first floor being like, yay, I got him finally. So then he leaves. Just, I think
his whole plan, it's so Dr. Evil, because it's like, I'm gonna put them into a closed box, not have any cameras on it at all, and just trust that when the elevator falls that they were inside of it.
And interestingly, he did have a speaker in there. Like, he talked to them while they were in there, but you're right, he could not see them while they were in there. Like, if you're going to set up a microphone, set up a camera.
Well, in the sub, he doesn't have a speaker in there, so he's just like...
Oh, he doesn't talk to them and tell them his... Oh, he talks, like, through the door?
Yeah, he just talks through the elevator door.
Well, they were looking up, so I figured it was a speaker, because they both look up when he starts talking. At least in the dub.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, so it was like, that's why it was very Saw Trap, is like suddenly the voice from the ceiling is explaining how you're gonna die, and it was like, okay, I've seen this movie.
I wonder if they took a clip from them looking up at the exit and then like added it in earlier so that it looked like they were like,
we gotta explain what's going on here.
Yeah.
So now they're dangling, and I noticed there are 13 stories above the ground, which is a nice number choice. And they're dangling, and Sailor Moon's like, don't drop me, and he's like, have I ever let you down, which I thought was actually very cute. And then he's like, try to think about something else. And so she goes, and this is where they have a whole conversation that apparently it's a little different in the sub, because she's like, well, tell me why you always save me. And he's like, well, that's my mission, I guess. I've got no control over it. And then there's some more like struggle, and then like they manage to get her like piggyback on him so that he's not like, dangling by one arm, so he can hold on with two hands. And she starts just pestering him with questions while he's clearly like struggling not to fall, which was pretty funny. She's like, oh my gosh, and maybe this, and oh my god, do you have an Earth name like me? Maybe we know each other. Oh my god. And he's just sitting here like, I'm about to fall. And then he suddenly goes, I don't know who I am or where I come from. All I know is it's my mission to protect you, but I have this feeling like we know each other from a long time ago. And it was like, holy shit, like that's a big reveal and a lot of like discussion they just had just now. So I thought that was really cool.
Yeah. And it's, for the first time, I feel like in the dub, they have offered far more information than the sub has.
Because and I think it's good. Like it didn't feel like bad to me. Like it felt like a good time to like have some like building of the relationship and stuff. I thought it was really cool. It made the episode more exciting.
In fact, I think that actually makes more sense than what did happen in the sub, which was actually kind of a little bit annoying. Like, I know that Sailor Moon like cries and like she's not the best under pressure a lot of times, which she'll get better at over time. But like she's mostly just crying during this scene, and he's saying, let's distract ourselves by talking like about anything else. Mm-hmm. And because she like rather than the situation at hand, and so she's asking questions about like because at first she's asking questions about like how they're gonna get out, what are we gonna do, and then by the time she climbs up onto his back, she's like, it actually is kind of cute because she keeps asking like really weird questions like where she's like, what like she keeps like stopping herself for like, You know, I kind of think that you're Andrew, or like in real life, you know, oh no, that's just a weird question. And then she's like, and then when he's like really struggling, she goes, what are your hobbies? What's your favorite food? What's your like just asking him like rapid fire anything. And he does mention, because I can't remember what her question was, but it was an answer to one of her questions, like more serious ones, which was how he was like, I don't he doesn't say he doesn't know who he is, but he does say, I just have the vibe or something like that. I get the vibe that we know each other from a very long time ago. And so that's the only thing that's the same. And she thought the same thing. She was like, no. But for him, he's just like kind of ignoring her and like trying to concentrate on
I really liked them actually having a moment to stop and talk, and him sharing some stuff instead of just doing the mystery thing. So yeah, I think I agree that I think this was the dub for once I think did a little better. Although, I mean, maybe it's undermining some sort of like build up that the sub will do, but at least in this episode, it felt like a strong choice. The other one sounds cute, but like I think the dub I was like, oh, this was really exciting, like a status quo changer. So then they're like really about to fall. They're doing and his hands are trembling, and they actually did like a cut to commercial and like repeated it all again, which was very fun. We're like, and so he's like, hold on, and they're gonna fall, and of course Mercury and Ray and Luna turn up at the top and like rescue them and pull them out, at the last minute. Which, by the way, I also noticed that when they pull them up, as they come through the elevator door, leaning against the wall is passed out. They were like, oh, it took us a really long time to get up. They're like, what took you so long? And they're like, it took us a really long time to get up to the top of the building, to climb all those stairs, which I thought was very funny, because they had to climb 13 flights of stairs. But passed out against the wall is Molly, which implies that they carried unconscious Molly up 13 flights of stairs to go rescue, to go rescue Serena, which I really like that image.
Wow. Yeah, they didn't talk about what took you so long at all. They, in the sub, they're like Mercury is chiding Sailor Moon for showing up there alone, and not like waiting for them. The other thing I wanted to comment on, especially in light of my recent battle with COVID, is that Sailor Mars is wearing a little mask.
I was so excited about that. I was like, yeah, because she went out while she was sick, so she's wearing a flu mask, or not a flu mask, but a medical mask, so she doesn't spread her germs. Yes, good. Yeah. We stand.
And this would have been the 90s, so yeah, it's like a thing. Everybody mask up. Sailor Mars is doing it. Our local hot-headed psychic. If she can mask up, you can too.
So I liked that, and then of course, we haven't had a really mean moment really much this episode, so we had to get a mean moment in, although for once it wasn't on Sailor Moon, but just for some reason out of the blue, Sailor Moon goes, that's a good look for you, Ray, it covers up your enormous mouth.
Burn.
Like, just no build up for why she's being mean. It was just obviously and then Ray responds also with a burn, which actually is my favorite name calling for the whole episode, because Ray goes, at least I'm not a desperate hunk hog.
Oh, that's a good look for you, Ray. Cover up that humongous mouth of yours. Don't bug me, I just saved your life. And besides, at least I'm not a desperate hunk hog like you.
And desperate hunk hog is probably the best thing I've ever heard anyone say. It sounds...
That's the name of my band, actually. What a small world.
The Desperate Hunk Hogs.
Yeah.
Oh my god. I was just like, wow. I mean, that's basically calling her a slut, but...
Yeah. But,
in a much funnier way.
Yeah. I don't even remember what they were arguing about in the sub, but it was much more along the lines of how dare you go out alone, and you would have gotten a date with Tuxedo Mask before me, blah, blah, blah. So just not as interesting, but I mean, not mean.
I mean,
necessarily.
They didn't just immediately start trying, because that was like, I realized again why I didn't like Mars in the show was that they just fought all the time, just immediately.
Yeah.
With like, not even like in the
Desperate
cute
hook.
bickery way. It was just like, they just immediately are at each other's throats, and it's mean.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, and then Mercury does the thing where she's like, guys, we're a team. We have to stick together. Which I was like, didn't we have a whole episode where this was the moral and we're just doing it again?
Yeah.
And Tuxedo Mask shows up and he's like, she's right. Your unity is your strength. And then he like jumps off the building or something. And they're like, oh, where'd he go? I wish I could fly. But he's just like hiding beneath the window, which is pretty funny.
Yeah. Yeah, what did they have him say while he was hiding on that ledge?
He says something like, oh, these Sailor Scouts are going to be the death of me.
That's better. Because I was actually annoyed with this whole scene. I mean, I think it's fucking hilarious that he's like, all right, take care of each other, bye, and then jumps over the edge, and they're like, oh no, where'd he go? And he's just underneath, like just below their vision.
He's not like, yeah, I love that. I did love that.
And then what he says in the sub is, I hate it when girls fight. And I was like, well, that's kind of sexist. Because they were all
honestly,
arguing.
Kind of mood, because like, why are they fighting?
Well, it was a little bit more gentle in the sub, where they were just like, hey, you can't go on places alone, you know, like you need to bring all of us.
It's like, we need to switch their things. When they're just gently fighting, he should just be like, oh, they're gonna be this heavy. And when they're mean fighting, he should be like, I hate it when they fight. Because I'm like, yeah, me too, bro. I don't know why they're so mean to each other. We did a whole episode about how we have to work together, and we're still repeating everything. They learned nothing.
Yeah. I do wonder if that vibe is going to change once we get the next Sailor Senshi in. Is it Jupiter next? I think it's Jupiter next.
It's Jupiter next, I think. Episode 25.
Hopefully that'll change
some
of the dynamic.
16-ish? Yeah. So then we finish up the episode with another like bad guy meetup where Beryl is chewing out Nephrite for failing to defeat Sailor Moon, just in how much he's like Jedi and stuff. But interestingly, she does say, but actually you got us a lot of energy, because he got Molly's energy, and that was a big boon. And then she's like, in fact, maybe I should be mad at Zoisite. And I was like, why are you mad at Zoisite? But she's like, shut up. Don't question my judgment ever again. And I was like, okay, we're mad at Zoisite for some reason.
Yeah, it makes more sense in the sub, because Zoisite this whole episode has just been like, ha ha ha, you're gonna go the way of Jedi, like you're gonna be put through the eternal sleep or whatever. And so when he fails to crush the Sailor Scouts or Sailor Moon, Zoisite is like, yep, you're gonna die, basically. Like, yep, you failed again. Like, Beryl, like, let's put him into eternal sleep. And so at that point, Zoisite is kind of overstepping his bounds, because he's like, hey, kick him out, you know? And Beryl's like, shut up. He actually brought like a lot of energy, so I'm not going to do it this time. And in fact, Zoisite, where's the silver crystal? Go get that. You should be focused on your own self.
Silver crystal again. Yeah. Okay, so at least they were like, you were supposed to be doing something, because in this one it was just like suddenly mad, but they didn't explain like in what way Zoisite had failed, so it was very confusing. No, that makes sense.
Yeah, it was very much like, hey, mind your own business. Like, you have a job to be doing also.
Yeah. And then I guess we finish the episode, because we cut to Nephrite talking to the stars again, like he does for the whole episode. And he's like, again, demonstrates that he's wildly OP, because he's just like, stars, erase Molly's memory of me. And it was like, oh, or of me as Tuxedo Mask. And it was like, oh, okay. And then he's like, oh, but maybe I should thank her, because her stupid crush, the energy from her stupid crush did save me. Mwahahaha. And it was like, okay, that was quite a vibe. So that was the end of the episode.
It's so strange that he would erase her memories like that in the dub. That doesn't happen in the sub. He's just talking about like how incredible it was that he got so much energy just from this one girl. And he talks again about how everybody has 1 point of their peak energy.
Right?
And yeah.
It's so funny, because I feel like maybe they thought like they had to explain like why Molly doesn't know who Nephrite is, but like she didn't actually ever know that guy she talked to was Tuxedo Mask. She just thought it was him, and then she saw Tuxedo Mask, but it wasn't like she ever was like, oh, it was him. So he didn't need to erase it, because Molly didn't ever actually know that it
Molly
was him.
she was already passed out before the real Tuxedo Mask showed up, and before Nephrite revealed himself.
Yeah. So she didn't need her memories erased because she doesn't know who he was. She had just thought it might be him.
I wonder if they just threw that line in, because I'm a little bit concerned for Molly, because everybody else up until this point, the monster has been defeated and their energy has been returned back to them. We have actually not seen yet somebody dealing with their energy still being gone.
Yeah, good point.
So I wonder if she's going to be like in the hospital or something next episode, like, because she doesn't.
Or we'll just never hear about this problem again. But yeah, she lost a lot of energy. In fact, she lost all it. Well, maybe she just won't love him anymore because he sucked out all her love.
Yeah,
like, how does that work?
I mean, yeah, and the other thing is, like, I wonder if she just never mentions Tuxedo Mask again. And so, like, in the dub, cool. they felt the need to just, like, explain why she
just never brought that up again.
Yeah.
It's also interesting because they did imply, like, wow, I didn't know this love energy was so powerful. And I'm like, you've literally done this before. Like, we've done the power. I mean,
we're on episode
not new information. Yeah.
Like 19
like this has been like 3 episodes plans where like people that are in love are very powerful. We had the bus episode where we were, I mean, I guess that was Jedi, but like where we were like, we'll make girls fall in love and then suck out all their love energy. So I mean, catch up. But that was I enjoyed this episode a lot. It was weird, but very high stranger danger vibes that were not addressed, but
you old man is
yeah, also very high pedo vibes. Yes.
High pedo vibes.
Do you want to guess the sailor says, or do we do that later? I think we do that now. I can't remember.
I think we could do that now. In case you're just joining us, we didn't explain, but it's been quite a long break since the last time we recorded.
So we had
like
our
at least a month.
Holidays, our COVID, all sorts of fun stuff.
Yeah, all fun stuff. I think that so I've got 2. One is what the sailor says should be, which is, wait, I'll save that because that's what we do at the end, is we do our own sailor says.
Yeah.
So I'll save that one. What I think it is, hey, always tell somebody when you're going somewhere alone. I don't know. Like, is that what it is?
That's what let me tell you, that's what it should be. I was like, that's so obvious. It's so set up. Like, someone in this episode needs to be like, don't go meet strangers from the internet / love letter. But no, that's not it. So I have to read it because I was just like, it was kind of just vague. Serena says, sorry, it's just such a dumb message. When Molly told Nephrite she loved him, she was being true to herself. It got her in a mess of trouble, but Nephrite knew Molly's strong, real feelings could be valuable to the Negaforce. When you're doing something that is right, your energy, your true feelings are valuable too. When you're true to yourself, not trying to be anybody but who you are as strong and powerful as any enemy. When you're doing something right, remember to be true to yourself. Sailor Moon says.
What?
The actual so fucking weird. What was that? Yes, Molly did get assaulted, but her true feelings made her very powerful.
Not in a way that was helpful for her.
I know. What was that choice?
What? Of all the choices they could have made, that made sense.
I don't really know what they're trying to say. I mean, I guess be true to yourself, but like, what do they mean by that? Like,
but also, haven't they already used that?
Yes, and also, like, in this context, does be true to yourself mean show up to strangers' houses because you like them? Because I feel like that's what they think it means. They were like doing the right thing. Like, what was she doing that was the right thing? I don't know.
But, okay, if being true to yourself means that as a child, a 13 or 14-year-old child, you have a crush on an adult man,
right?
And you go tell him by meeting up with him in an abandoned mall, like, how? What?
Right? And, like, there could be something something there about like you don't have to be ashamed for liking someone just because people use your feelings against you or whatever. Like that's on them. Like you are still like good and true and like it's okay. Like I kind of like that, but that's not really what they're saying. So
no, they're trying to do the whole be true to yourself thing that they've already done 1,000 times. And
it
of all the episodes
in this context, I know in this of all the episodes, it makes very little sense. He knew her feelings were powerful, and your feelings are powerful too. I mean, you will still get assaulted and have your feelings drained out of you, but
and
used
by the Negaverse.
Wow, that's a vibe.
What was their thought process like in the corporate setting of the Deke headquarters?
Especially because there's such an obvious one with the whole like, don't go meet strangers alone. Always bring an adult with you. Stick with your chaperone, whatever.
Do you think that Deke is connected to a kidnapping organization, and so they don't want to warn you away from it because it'll cut in on their revenue?
Deke is like, don't listen to strangers except for us. Do listen to us. We know your feelings are very powerful, and you should give them to us. We will use them to power ourselves.
Deke is the Negaverse.
The
Negaverse.
I mean, I think you're right.
Does Deke still exist? I don't
know. Does Deke?
Because if they do,
exist?
we're gonna get sued for slander or libel or whichever it is. They're like, you have to put out a PR statement. We are not involved with human trafficking. These are lies.
This is apparently just trivia from the wiki is that this is one of only 2 episodes where a monster of the week survives. And the other episode is in Sailor Moon S Birthday Blues Part 1. So I was like, wow, that's actually makes this really rare. And they really never do explain it.
No, I like your idea that like it's an illusion because it does just kind of disappear once they go into the elevator.
And we do also never see it actually hit anyone. Like they're running away from it. We actually never see them engage with it.
Yeah.
So I kind of do like that he summoned like an illusion and they just got like really impressed by his like multiplying powers and they're like, ooh, that looks very intimidating.
Yeah, like, oh, I don't want to touch that one.
That does make Nephrite very smart.
Yeah.
Good job.
Ben. I mean, he's startup bro. He's got multiple businesses and he's exited multiple startups at millions of dollars. Like that's what he's been doing.
Love letters to every junior high girl.
Do you think? Question. Wait. I just have 2. The first one is speaking of love letters. Do you think that he sat there and hand addressed every single one?
Did he go by and drop them in every single?
Like little like love Santa Claus.
Yeah. Well, even funnier, what if he had just like put them in every mailbox in town? Like just literally like everybody gets a love letter. Because that's kind of his strategy.
Miss Haruna's.
Or Miss Haruna.
He deliberately skipped. You know what though? What she doesn't know is that she fucking dodged a bullet this time.
She did. She's like, this poor lady does not deserve any more of.
No.
I did like the. Oh my gosh.
The other thing I was gonna say is like, do you think that he's spending? Because here's the thing: the stars obviously have all of the answers, and so if he just took the time to just be like, "Who's Sailor Moon? Where does she live?" You know, like, give me the info.
You're so right.
Do you think that like instead of the reason why he's so distracted is because he has multiple startups going, and he's asking the stars for like, okay, what should I invest in next?
I've just had a different thought, which is because you were like, I was like, well, remember he's like, you're connected to the stars too because you're a Sailor Moon scout, whatever. Mm-hmm. But I've just realized, because I thought it was weird, he goes like, show me Sailor Moon's greatest weakness. And they're like, it's Tuxedo Mask. And I was like, but he's her love, and we know that love is actually her greatest strength.
Right.
The stars are fucking lying to him. The stars are on her side.
Okay, I take back my snitches get stitches comment from before, because I literally wrote down, in addition to snitches get stitches, I wrote, these stars are gossipy little bitches.
Yeah, but no, they are on Sailor Moon's side. They're protecting Sailor Moon.
Interesting. I like that thought.
This is my new theory. because they did not point him at her weakness. They pointed him at her strength.
But I do think it's both her weakness and her strength, right? Like whenever, well, I don't know, maybe I take that back, because like every time she loses her friends or something, or like they're all like, at first it gets her down, but then she ends up coming back like 10 times stronger because of her protective and loving nature.
You know, and if we want to take this even one more step, Nephrite is like, you know, has some sort of past with him and that he doesn't remember. I don't know exactly what the details are, but like maybe the stars are still on his side. They just know that truly he would like to protect these people somewhere in his hindbrain. The stars are trying to get everybody hooked back up. They're like, we're going to reconnect your old relationships. Such a weird vibe.
Okay, so I was going to do the whole dating rules thing. So I'll let it be your choice, okay? I've got 2 questions that you could choose to answer, one or both. The first one is, what would one of the other Sailor Scouts' rules of dating be? And you can choose anybody, but probably of the 3 main ones, since that's how far we've gotten. Or, in light of Nephrite's weird fried egg epaulettes on his shoulders, what breakfast food would be on your Negaverse costume?
Ooh, okay. Okay, I didn't really do any pondering, but I was looking at pictures of Nephrite's shoulders because I wanted to review them.
They look like fried eggs, right?
Right? Yeah. I also was interested, I'm thinking about it again, that it was interesting that they had some sort of connection between Nephrite and Molly, because like, it's just interesting to see her kind of more included in the story, that she has some sort of connection that's separate from everyone else to this creepazoid. But
I just feel like it was like it was the growth or the extension of her massive crush that she gained on him pretty early on.
Yeah.
Like his first episode, I think.
Yeah.
And I do think it's interesting that she has these intense powers of, when she's got a crush, man, she could even see through his like costume. She was like, oh my God, it's you, Mr. Whatever. And Mr. Startup Man. And I'm like, man, if she's able to see that, then how has she not noticed that like A, Sailor Moon exists, and that B, it's her best friend Usagi?
She does not have the power of love with Sailor Moon. Only the power of friendship. And friendship does not, conquer all mysteries.
Friendship does not allow you to see through costumes, I guess.
It would be amazing if, I mean, that's, I guess, Scooby-Doo. Friendship solves all mysteries. Yeah. Scooby-Doo Sailor Moon crossover.
Oh my God. Velma is obviously Sailor Mercury.
Yes. Okay.
Sailor Moon is
I just pictured Shaggy in a sailor outfit, and I really liked it.
Oh my God. If anybody is listening to this, artist or otherwise, I want to see that fan art.
Sailor Shaggy.
So did you pick a question?
I did, sort of, which is just that I was thinking about breakfast foods, and really I'm just like doing the thing where I look around my room and I name things that I can see. So first of all, I had oranges for breakfast today, and I was like, orange slices would be very, like a slice of orange would actually be like very trendy. Like they could actually look cool. But if we just went with what I eat for breakfast, like if we just assume it's like, what do you eat the most often? It would be like a bottle of Soylent on each shoulder, which would be like a look.
You know what though? That's very now. Like these weird, I've noticed in recent reality shows like Selling Sunset and stuff, their shoulder pads are getting really spiky and tall. So maybe there is something to be said for some Soylent #not sponsored shoulder pads.
Soylent #please sponsor us.
Yes, exactly.
We just like bleep out the word Soylent the whole episode. So based on I think you should pick one for aesthetics and one based on just what you eat for breakfast most often.
Ooh, okay. I don't really eat breakfast that often.
Nothing is on your shoulders.
I know. No shoulder coverings. Oh my goodness.
Ooh.
One thing I am pretty consistent with is like a cup of coffee. So like maybe like
I love
like a mug on each shoulder.
Yeah.
Like a
you could like splash hot coffee on people like this.
And then I can like dangle little sparklies from the handles of the mugs.
Oh, I like that too. Yeah, that'd be
Yeah.
a look. Okay.
What else do I eat for breakfast? Usually, I used to eat like Kind bars. So, like...
Do like a Kind bar. That could also kind of work. Like you could make it like look like it was supposed to be there.
Yeah.
Like a stripe.
Or I was thinking like maybe I've got like Kind bar buttons. Like
ooh, I like that. Yeah, kind of going down like when you know how they have those like the shirts that have like the bars going down the front.
Yes. Yeah, exactly.
So, and then for you're supposed to make something. I mean, that could be is that your aesthetic choice too, where you're like, I just think this has a good aesthetic.
Yeah, I mean, I feel really strongly about my costume choices.
I like it. I know. I think this is a good choice, and I also am just realizing that this Sailor Moon is a planet themed set of warriors, but they do occasionally do like other subsets, and we could have a food themed set of Sailor Senshi, and I like that.
Yes. Like Sailor Pancake.
Yes. Oh, how did we forget Sailor Pancake?
You're gonna be a sailor pancake at the bottom of the elevator shaft.
I don't want to be a pancake.
For love and syrup.
Yes. In the name of breakfast, I will punish you.
Breakfast is the most important meal of the day. How dare you skip it and use it for evil?
A girl's heart loves breakfast.
Make sure to always have protein.
These young girls, after they've eaten breakfast, they have so much energy.
Their brains just seem to be working on overdrive.
Yes. Harvested for the Negaverse. Next week, I didn't pull up the episode list. Sailor Moon episode. What are we watching next week? What's the episode?
I had it on my phone.
We just finished. I think it's gonna be one that isn't translated on both times, but maybe not. So we just did. Who is that masked man? Episode 16/19. Next episode is 20, and it doesn't have a dub in the original Deke version because it's the summer, the beach, youth, and ghosts.
Great name.
So we'll have to decide how we want to handle that. Do we want to both watch the sub, or we could have someone watch the new dub?
Yeah, I don't think that they would have changed anything though in the new dub, but I guess we could test it.
We could test it. Yeah, let's test it. Let's see. Maybe we'll be like, yeah, they're really, really similar.
Yeah.
That would be a good way to find out. Okay. Yeah, so you're going to watch the new dub.
Yes, I will watch the new dub.
That's the first time.
They won't have as exciting voices. I already know it.
Yes.
No Brooklyn accent.
Aw.
Poor Molly. This sounds like the title of like a Babysitter's Club novel.
Yeah, it's a very like Japanese anime manga, kind of like having we all go to the beach and there are ghosts. Like I feel like that's a very a thing I've seen repeatedly. I feel like I've seen it in anime a lot. Like I guess going on vacation and seeing ghosts. Like I feel like it's more frequently like a spa and there's ghosts, and then going to the beach and something happens. So like I feel like that combination. Like I've just seen that a lot in anime, and shockingly, I don't feel like that's something I see much in the American TV show.
I am really interested to see. I think we should come to the table with theories on why we think they did not translate it.
Right? It's the first one we've cut in quite a while. The last one was around episode. It was actually right at the beginning. It was like episodes 5 and 6.
And that's the one that fucked me over on all of my editing.
I'm gonna guess they cut it for something like either ghosts or bathing suits, just off the top of my head.
I was just thinking the exact same thing. Yeah, that's my theory.
But
so we got to end on our own Sailor Says.
I mean, you already know what mine is.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon says, don't meet strangers alone. Especially when they send love letters to all of junior high.
Yes.
Or if they're an adult.
Exactly. And mine is along similar lines, which is, and it's also basically what Miss Haruna says in the sub, which is Sailor Moon says, don't just trust that the letter that's been sent to you or email or IM is on the up and up, you don't know who's on the other end of it. So
yes, just because it's signed Tuxedo Mask doesn't mean it's from Tuxedo Mask.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, flashback. But when I was very young and the internet was very new, because I'm old,
I already know. I thought the exact same thing.
We would go on like what was it, AO3 Messenger, like the chat rooms. They had chat rooms, and
for AOL,
AOL chat rooms, and they were all very weird and of course like porny and all sorts of various things. But I remember coming down one time to tell my mom I'm talking to Jonathan Taylor Thomas, JTT, and she's like, no, you're not. And also, I'm pretty sure how it went was like, who's your favorite celebrity? And I didn't actually really follow celebrities, so my cousin liked JTT, who was on Home Improvement. So I said JTT because it was the only celebrity I'd ever heard of. And he was like, I'm JTT. And I was like, oh my God. It's JTT. I love both, that it was someone I really did not know anything about this actor, did not give a shit about him, but I was very easily convinced it was him. What are the odds?
I remember you telling me this story, and so like, as soon as you had the flashback moment, I was like, it's the JTT one!
Who's your favorite celebrity? JTT. That's me! What?
What a small world. I mean, what do you think, that somebody would just go onto the internet and lie about who they are?
Yeah, so, I guess I can't judge Molly.
I mean, spoiler. Well, I do have a feeling, and I know we are way over, but when she's in the school classroom and looking at the letter, she sees his face, like she's imagining Nephrite's face, and so I wonder if she kind of, I don't know why she would have thought it was him anyway, because it's not like he was Tuxedo Mask at all.
She was drawn to him by her power of love. Love solves all mysteries.
Yeah.
Because he was like, how did you know? And he was like, she has a great power in her. And it was like, it's love. That's wild.
Love.
It can reveal that he sent the letter, but not that he's a sleazoid.
Aww.
Well,
maybe deep down, deep down.
I think, and I say I think, but this is informed by me looking him up and seeing a bunch of images with him and Molly come up. I think there's at least one other episode where they have a moment together. So it's like a thing.
An old man and a 14-year-old girl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, the power of love.
The power of love can only go so far before the legal system takes hold.
Yes, thank God.
Well, Sailor Moon says, see you next week.
All right. Click, hang up.